You are lying next to someone who once wanted you desperately. Now she turns her body away when you reach for her. Her phone gets more attention than you do. Excuses replace intimacy, and you keep telling yourself, this is normal. It is not. When a woman stops desiring you, it rarely happens suddenly. It happens quietly, incrementally, in ways most men are trained not to notice. And by the time it reaches the bedroom, the damage has already been done. The first mistake men make is believing the problem is sex. It isn't. Sex is only the final signal, the visible symptom of a deeper psychological shift. Desire does not die in the body first. It dies in perception. A woman does not stop wanting intimacy because she is tired. She becomes tired after desire fades. Fatigue is the excuse, not the cause. What actually disappears is her internal response to you. Attraction is not about how good you are to her. It is about how she experiences you emotionally. And that experience is shaped by power, polarity, and psychological positioning. Early on, desire feels effortless. She initiates, she touches, she responds eagerly. Not because you asked, but because your presence activated something in her. Over time, many men unknowingly dismantle that activation. They become predictable, over-available, emotionally exposed without grounding. They prioritize harmony over polarity. They mistake safety for attraction. But safety without tension does not create desire. It neutralizes it. This is where most men lose the game without realizing it. They think consistency earns attraction. They think loyalty guarantees desire. They think effort builds intimacy. Effort builds comfort. Comfort builds familiarity. And familiarity without polarity kills erotic tension. A woman can love you deeply and still not want you. That truth terrifies men because it destroys the good man contract. The unspoken belief that if you behave correctly, desire will be rewarded. It won't. Desire is not a moral exchange. It is a psychological response, and psychological responses change when perception changes. This is why begging, explaining, and trying harder never works. Those behaviors communicate loss of internal authority. They shift you from chosen man to seeking approval. And once a woman subconsciously places you there, desire collapses, not because she is cruel, but because attraction cannot survive inequality and emotional grounding. The more you chase, the less she feels pulled. The more you ask for reassurance, the less she trusts your center. The more you adjust yourself to keep her, the less she experiences you as solid. This is the paradox men are never taught. Stability is attractive, but self-abandonment disguised as stability is repulsive. When a man starts bending his identity to maintain the relationship, something critical breaks. She feels it before she understands it. She stops relaxing into you. She stops leaning forward emotionally. She stops responding spontaneously. And then the symptoms appear. Less touch, less playfulness, less interest, more irritation, more distance. Eventually, the bedroom goes quiet. Men panic here. They search for tactics, new dates, new compliments, more chores, more patience. All of it fails because desire is not repaired through service. It is restored through perception, and perception only changes when the man reclaims his internal position. This is why some women lose desire without hating the man, without cheating, without drama. They simply stop feeling something. That something is not love. It is polarity, the invisible dynamic that allows attraction to exist. When polarity disappears, sex becomes obligation, and obligation is the enemy of desire. This is also why some women say, I don't know what changed. They are telling the truth. The change was internal and gradual. It happened when the man stopped leading himself emotionally, when his moods began orbiting her responses, when his confidence required validation. That is when desire begins its slow death. And here is the part almost no one says out loud. When a woman stops desiring a man, she often feels guilt before clarity, confusion before honesty, avoidance before confrontation. So she delays the truth. She avoids intimacy. She creates distance, not to punish him, but because being close feels wrong when desire is gone. This is why rejection feels cold and confusing. It is not calculated, it is instinctive. The tragedy is that most men respond by shrinking further. They become quieter, kinder, more accommodating, and every one of those responses accelerates the loss of attraction because they confirm the very perception that caused it. This is the first uncomfortable reality. A woman does not lose desire because you failed her. She loses desire because you stopped standing firmly in yourself. And standing in yourself is not dominance. It is grounded presence, the kind that does not chase, does not plead, does not negotiate worth, the kind that remains centered even when desire is uncertain. When men lose that center, desire fades. And when men regain it, something fascinating happens. But that comes later. First, you need to understand what is actually happening inside her mind when desire desire disappears. Because it is not what most men think. And until you see that mechanism clearly, every attempt to fix this will make it worse. When men stop chasing, the shift does not only happen outside the relationship, it happens inside the woman. Because attention is not just flattering, it is regulating. For years, many women unconsciously use male pursuit as emotional feedback. Who texts first? Who checks in? Who initiates? Who tries? That feedback loop answers silent questions she rarely voices out loud. Am I still desired? Am I still chosen? Am I still important? So when pursuit slows or disappears, the loss is not romantic at first. It is neurological. The female nervous system begins searching for a missing signal. This is why confusion comes before anger, why discomfort appears before blame. At first, she tells herself familiar stories. Men are lazy now. Men are intimidated. Men don't know how to lead anymore. But beneath those thoughts is something far more unsettling. The automatic confirmation she relied on is gone. And here is the truth most people avoid saying honestly. Many women were never taught how to generate attraction. They were taught how to receive it. They learned how to respond, how to filter, how to choose. They were not taught how to initiate desire, how to hold polarity without pursuit, how to remain grounded when attention is not being offered. So when men stop performing the old role, women are left without a script. That absence creates anxiety, and anxiety seeks control. She begins monitoring everything. Why hasn't he texted yet? Why is he calmer than usual? Why is he no longer reacting? Why does he seem fine without me? The calmer the man becomes, the louder her mind grows. Because calm used to mean confidence. Now, calm feels like detachment. And detachment feels like rejection. This is where many women make a critical psychological mistake. They assume the solution is to raise standards, to test harder, to demand more effort, to withhold affection. Those tactics worked on men who chased. They do not work on men who have already detached from outcome. Instead of pulling him closer, they push him deeper into indifference. And indifference is the one state attraction cannot survive. There is another uncomfortable layer here. Many women confuse male desire with male effort. They believe if a man wants her, he must constantly pursue her. But desire and pursuit are not the same thing. A man can desire deeply and still refuse to chase blindly, especially if past pursuit taught him that effort is not respected. So when women say, if he wanted to, he would, many men quietly think, I wanted to, and I learned not to. This is the emotional disconnect at the heart of modern dating. Women interpret reduced effort as reduced interest. Men experience reduced effort as self-respect. Both sides feel misunderstood. Both sides feel wronged, and neither side is speaking the same psychological language. This is why women often feel unsettled rather than angry, restless instead of heartbroken. Something feels off even though nothing dramatic happened. The old cues are gone, and when cues disappear, the mind fills the gap with stories. Stories like, men don't value relationships anymore. Men only care about themselves. Men are emotionally unavailable. But the truth is more precise. Men became selectively available. They stopped giving full access to people who did not show consistency, appreciation, or reciprocity. They stopped chasing uncertainty, and uncertainty is what many women were unintentionally offering, not out of malice, but because they were taught that mystery creates desire, without being taught when mystery becomes emotional distance. So when men withdraw, women feel the weight of emotional silence, and silence forces self-reflection. Am I inviting connection, or am I waiting to be impressed? Am I offering warmth or only evaluating performance? Am I building peace or constantly testing strength? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are necessary because the world where men chased automatically is ending, and a new world is emerging, one where attraction requires mutual grounding, not unilateral pursuit. In Part 3, we will expose the final trap, what happens when boundaries disappear, why self-abandonment feels like love, and how both men and women lose polarity when sacrifice is mistaken for intimacy. That is where relationships either recalibrate or quietly collapse. When men stop chasing, stop explaining, and stop bending themselves to be chosen, something irreversible happens. They return to themselves. This is the part most people never talk about, because once a man rebuilds his center, the relationship dynamic can never go back to what it was before. He no longer negotiates his value. He no longer performs for validation. He no longer fears silence. And this changes everything, not because he becomes becomes cold, but because he becomes grounded. A grounded man does not chase attention. He attracts response. He does not demand respect. He embodies it. This is where the third and final trap reveals itself, the trap of self-abandonment. Many men were never rejected by women. They were rejected by themselves first. They gave up their boundaries to keep peace. They gave up direction to keep connection. They gave up identity to feel chosen. And slowly, the relationship lost its structure because love without boundaries becomes obligation, and obligation quietly kills desire. When a man stops abandoning himself, the relationship either recalibrates or collapses. There is no middle ground. Some women feel this shift and adjust. They reconnect through respect. Others resist it. They test boundaries. They provoke reactions. They try to restore control through emotion. And when that fails, the final response appears. Distance, not anger, not drama, just distance. This is the moment most relationships end, quietly. Not because love disappeared, but because the man finally returned to himself. This is not cruelty. It is correction. Men do not become dangerous when they stop chasing. They become selective. They stop trying to be wanted and start choosing. And that is the real power shift no one prepared women for. Because the moment a man no longer needs pursuit to feel valuable, the entire game collapses. If you understood this, you already see relationships differently. And if this challenged something you believed, that was the point. If you watched until here, like the video, share it with someone who needs clarity, not comfort. Subscribe for more deep psychological breakdowns like this. Stay aware, stay grounded.